Hello and welcome to the second lecture in this section on thriving in uncertain situations for this course, Mastering Complexity. So in this section, we have started helping you learn how to thrive in uncertain situations. And we have talked about in the last lecture what causes uncertainty, what is uncertainty, and what makes the things complex as a part of uncertainty. So the key thing in thriving in uncertain situation is to make the right decision. So the question is for you and me is how can you decide correctly on what to do and how? So these are the two things. So what to do and how can you decide correctly on both the things? So what do you think? How can you decide correctly what to do and how? Any thoughts? Yeah? All right. So I think as you see from this source of uncertainty diagram that we have, it primarily comes from lack of knowledge. So can we not reduce uncertainty by increasing the knowledge about the future? Yeah, that's a certain possibility. So more and more you become knowledgeable about your future, lesser is your field of uncertainty, more you are towards a certain outlook of the future, and then life becomes simpler and you can make those decisions that are complex for others. So your knowledge is critical, especially about the future, that can help you deal with uncertainty better with others. Now, so once you know about the future, then you can forecast the future, right? You can say what is going to happen about 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, and your judgments, if they are good based on your knowledge, and then you make the right decisions. So then you know what to do. So you are more reducing the complexity of because due to the uncertainty of the future, and then you can decide on what to do and how to do. Right. But there is a limitation to doing this. Now, this can be done in physical domains more clearly and lot more in physical domain, but not so much in socio-economic domain. Our systems and knowledges in socio-economic domain needs to be developed lot more to be able to forecast things better. Also, physical domains like physics, chemistry, where the experimentation are required, dealing with inert material. But as soon as you start dealing with people in socio-economic domain, there are so many more variables. The unpredictability of human behavior itself causes a huge challenge, and this keeps changing from year to year, from time to time, from era to era. So there is a limitation in doing this in socio-economic domain. Now, this comes because of the limitation of the forecasting. Why? What is the limitation of the forecasting? See, forecasting is based on certain assumptions which or may not hold always good, right? And this becomes definitely more challenging when you make assumptions about human behavior as behaviors of the society, which is made up of millions of people and their interaction with each other. And these assumptions are likely to go wrong. And that's where you would have errors in your forecasting. Also, for the industries where the environment is changing rapidly, the technology, or because of the players in the industry, new things are being introduced in the products or services or technology or whatever. So, wherever the external environment is rapidly changing, forecasting is again not useful for that. If it is stable, stagnant, or trending industry in one particular direction, you can make a forecast and you can make decisions correctly. And that reduces the complexity and uncertainty as well, allowing you to make the decisions on what to do and how to do. Now, then the question comes, so how do we make the right decision for business that essentially is socio-economic? We deal with people, we deal with an extended environment that consists of customers, suppliers, competitors, government, society in general. And they change and they are unpredictable. So we are still left with the question that how do we make right decision business then if we can't forecast enough? Right. So there are two different models that you can use. One is there are two types of situations in business that can happen. There are situations that will occur frequently. It happens every month, it happens every quarter, it happens every year, and it's likely to happen again. Now, you don't know what is the outcome, and it has happened for many, many months in the past. So you can use probabilistic model there based on the understanding of the past and certain assumption that these probabilities will continue to work in future. So that's one model. Then there are more difficult situations which are one time, right? A competitor introduces a new technology. Now that technology is going to come only one time, right? It's not happened in the past. It's going to happen first time. The same technology will not be introduced again. Now, in that situation, there is a methodology called game theory, which uses decision trees to arrive at better decisions, more right decisions with reduced risk and better outcomes. So these are the two models. So let's look at each of these. So how do you decide with probabilistic model? Have you heard of probability? So probability is simply in terms of, I think everyone knows it, but if you toss a coin, what is the chance you get a head? And if you toss it 100 times, it's a good chance that 50% of the time the head will come. So number of events, number of possible events that can happen, and what is the chance of the event that you want to happen is what is called a probabilistic model. So how do you decide at the probabilistic model? So in that, what you do is you decide, you need to take a decision to go ahead and do something. So either you have two choices, either to go ahead or to stop. Now, if you don't do anything and you stop taking that decision, you can see what is my expected payoff. So if you don't do anything, say example is you want to put up a plant in a backward area. Now, if you don't have any payoff. So expected payoff is zero. Now, if you go ahead and put that plant in a backward area, there are two possible situations. There's a 10% chance that you can incur losses, and you can incur losses up to extent of 500 million, let's say, to make things big. Or there's a 90% probability that you will be successful and you will earn a profit of 100 million rupees. So then what you do is you calculate here again the expected payoff comes in and you say, okay, since many plants have been put up in the past in the backward area and in the last 5 years, and this, based on that you have looked at the probability of these, and these are small plants that we're talking about. So you are in the 8th or 9th or 4th or 5th year and many plants have been put up. And you have some data to do these probabilities. So you calculate the expected payoff and then you say there's the expected payoff will be about 40 million rupees, and that helps you decide to go ahead. Now, so like this you decide based on the probabilistic model. But important thing is that that same event must have occurred in the past for you to give you the probabilities of success or failure and the expected payoffs. So that's important thing. The second model, as we said, is the game theory. So how do you decide using the decision trees in game theory model? Let's take a look at that. So in this, what you do is you say, I don't have the probabilities. So let me look at what are the possible events. So let's say there are four possibility of events happening: S1, S2, S3, S4. And let's say these are the possible reactions from a competitor, right? So a competitor might introduce a new technology, a competitor might introduce operate a new plant, might introduce a new product, it might give you a new service. So these are four possibilities: S1, S2, S3, S4. Now, for you, and you have range of three acts. You need to think, given these four possibilities, what are the actions I can take? And you say, I can take three possible actions: A1, A2, A3, and A4, A5, or whatever numbers are. And for each of these, you calculate your payoffs. And then you calculate for each action what there are two possible models, and you can have more models. There are minimum payoff model and a maximum payoff model. And you say, as per minimum payoff, whatever the situation, if I take A1, what's my payoff? And then you see is 12, let's say $1 million here. A2, if I take, what's my payoff? It's $17 million. And A3, it's my 15 million. So you are looking at options, you are saying whatever happens, whatever the event that happens in the future, I am, if I take A1, I make a 12 million payoff. So at least, and if I want to minimize my risk, I'm happy with minimum payoff, I might choose A1. And if I'm a risky person, I want to take a risky proposition and want to maximize my payoff, I might choose A3. So knowing my risk profile and appetite for risk, I can see what I need to do. I can choose an action that gives me a payoff irrespective of the events happening between S2, S1, S2, S3, S4. Now it is possible you choose A1 and S1 happens, so fine, you get 27, right? But if S2 happens, your minimum guaranteed is 12. So like this, you figure out your decision and you make the right decision. So what do we do next? So in the next, we'll take you through a case study of how can you make these decisions, especially using the game theory for thriving under these uncertain situations. So thank you so much for watching this second lecture on thriving in uncertain situation for this course, Mastering Complexity. I hope you're continuing to learn new things, continuing to enjoy, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture.